What's driving all the violence and chaos in the Middle East right now? Haven't you heard? It's the age-old conflict between the Sunnis and the Shias. Well, actually, that's a myth. The truth is it's about power, not piety, and it's a very recent phenomenon, not an ancient one. We're talking 40 years, not 14 centuries. It really all started in the late 1970s with the rise of petro-power Saudi Arabia on the Sunni side and revolutionary power Iran on the Shia side. It ramped up with the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, and it's been out of control since Bashar al-Assad went to war with his own people in Syria in 2011. So politics, politics, politics. Syria, remember, didn't start off as a sectarian conflict. It was young people protesting against abuses by security forces. It was part of the Arab Spring. Even today, the Russians, for example, aren't bombing Syria because they care about who succeeded the Prophet back in 632 AD. Meanwhile, Shia Iran backs Alawite Assad not because of long-standing theological ties, but because of geopolitics. He's their only Arab ally. After all, the Alawites were only deemed to be an offshoot of the Shias around 40 years ago. Oh, and Iran has also spent the past 2 decades backing Sunni Hamas, not just Shia Hezbollah. So much for ancient hatreds. Then there's Libya, where it's not Sunni against Shia, it's Sunni against Sunni. And of course Yemen too, where supposedly it's Sunni government forces versus Shia Houthi rebels, yet the Shias in Yemen are called Zaydis, and Zaydis aren't actually that dissimilar to Sunnis in their beliefs. As a US diplomatic cable from Yemen released by WikiLeaks pointed out, members of the two sects often pray in the same mosques and practice many of the same customs. So a lot of this Sunni-Shia conflict narrative is just a product of lazy, simplistic, cliched journalism, which not only allows a whole host of Western governments to avoid responsibility for a mess in the Middle East that they helped create, but also glosses over the fact that yes, ISIL wants to kill every Shia it can lay its hands on, but most Muslims just want to get along with each other and aren't buying into the ISIL narrative. To talk incessantly and sweepingly of a global Sunni-Shia conflict completely ignores political alliances, lifelong friendships, and yes, love stories too. The Middle East's a complicated place, and the violence there has far more to do with power grabs, identity politics, tribal splits, economic grievances, and foreign military interventions than theological differences. We're not witnessing a Sunni-Shia religious war. Well, not yet. It might well turn into an unresolvable, intractable sectarian conflict, though, if we keep treating it as if it is one.